What was your I'm dating/married to an effing idiot moment? My boyfriend refused to eat basil I had bought from the grocery store because it was a full plant. I was keeping it outside, and he insisted that he would not eat dirty food. I asked where he thought farmers kept produce, and he said that they have special areas for food to grow that was sterilized, but my plant was not food grade. I just looked at him with a dumbfounded look. I didn't know how to respond. He thought potatoes never go bad because his mom always kept a bag in the pantry. I asked him if they ate a lot of potatoes, and he said yes. They have a large family with 6 kids, and it still didn't click. Next story. A girl I was trying to date told me that Spain is part of Latin America, and when I informed her that it is in Europe, she doubled down by saying she was a Latin American studies student and that I was wrong. Next story. Found out she was eating half-cooked pre-made pot pies because she broiled every meal in the oven instead of baking it. She told me she hated that her oven burnt the top of each one and left the bottom doughy. She would eat the uncooked dough regardless. Next story. My partner was groaning and grunting at the bin. He said, "We need new bin bags. These ones you've bought don't bloody fit." Went over to see what was going on, and he had a roll of small black dog poo bags in his hand with one unfurled, trying to work out why it wouldn't fit in the bin. There were bin bags. He'd just picked up the wrong roll, and instead of realizing, tried to get a dog poo bag in a bin 50 times bigger. Next story. More cute than anything. But I'm half French, and my current English girlfriend said 2 months into dating, "I love you, but why the F do you keep calling me Bunny when we go to sleep? It's really weird." Bonne nuit, I was saying goodnight in French. Anyways, I call her Bunny all the time now, just to annoy her. Bunny, I guess is how it's almost sounding? Don't take my word for it, dude, I can barely speak English. Next story. I dated a guy in college who visited me in my rural hometown and asked what the animals in the neighbor's field were. I said, cows, in a you must be crapping me level of disbelief. He proceeded to tell me that they can't be cows because cows are black and white, and these animals were all brown. I had to pull up Google to prove to him that brown cows existed. I could maybe understand if he'd been from a city, but he told me he was from a rural suburb, not a city, so I guess he was just an idiot. Next story. My husband went in Dollar General for toilet paper. We had maybe $50 to last the week. This man came back with $40 of mango juice because it was on sale, and no toilet paper. I drank the juice, but I was awfully salty about it. Next story. We served in the U.S. Peace Corps together in Uganda. One day it was really sunny out, like we lived within 50 miles of the equator sunny. She says, "The moon is going to be really bright tonight." I asked what she meant, and she said since it's so sunny, the moon is absorbing all the light and will illuminate brighter when it's dark. We argued about this and ended up talking to her mother on the phone. She confirmed her daughter's hypothesis. Next story. We were getting ready to move, and were going through each room discussing whether to take or get rid of the furniture. In the bedroom, I remarked that I would like to get new bedside lamps. The ones we had were from his bachelor apartment over a decade ago. He said, "I can see why you'd like new lamps, but it's kind of amazing that the light bulbs have lasted 10 years. Dear gentle reader, the light bulbs had not lasted that long. He just was never the one to change them. Next story. My wife went to the store to get cilantro for our tacos. She came home with parsley. Easy mistake, they look similar if you don't look closely enough. I told her she bought parsley. She was convinced it was cilantro. I had her taste it. I showed her the tag on the bundle that said parsley. She reluctantly went back to the store to get cilantro. She came home with another bundle of parsley. I love this woman, but this moment I was questioning everything about her problem-solving skills. The good news is, she has never brought home parsley again. Is it cilantro or parsley that some people taste it like it's soap? Or is it neither? And I'm even dumber. I'll just keep reading. Next story. Ex-wife complained Apple Pay wouldn't work or link or whatever. I suggested she contact Apple support or go down to the Apple store. kept refusing to go to the store, saying she'd call customer support and go from there. One day, while at work, she texted me, asking where to get iTunes gift cards. Already a red flag. "Why do you need those?" I asked. She stated to me that Apple support is requesting the codes so they can verify funds. I told her it's a bad idea, it's a scam, just go to the Apple store. An argument broke out and nothing was discussed further. I get home that night and notice $800 worth of iTunes gift card holders in the kitchen. I ask her if she sent the codes to anyone, in which another argument broke out. She said she posted in an Apple support thread and an anonymous user replied to her telling her to call this number, obviously unaffiliated with Apple. Some say her Apple Pay still doesn't connect to this day. Next story. Having a discussion with my wife about not using certain Christmas tree decorations because they were glass and we had small kids. Her: "They're not glass." Me: "They are though." "No, they're not. See?" Proceeds to drop one straight onto the hardwood floor. Smash. Me: ... Her ... Me, with the deadest straight face I have ever managed in my life. "I'll get the broom." And that is why we are still married. Next story. When he spent an hour arguing cows are from England and bulls are from Spain. Or when he told me he is British because he had mixed Egyptian and Irish heritage, and I was English because I don't. Oh no, wait. When the dentist handed him that vacuum thing to spit into and he thought it was an oxygen mask and got it stuck to his face. Memories. Next story. We had a clogged French drain outside. My husband thought a plunger would fix it. He dropped the handle in the drain trying to plunge it. If that wasn't bad enough, he tried to use a wrench to get the handle out of the hole and proceeded to drop the wrench in the hole as well. He then called a plumber and told him we need help getting a plunger handle and wrench out of the drain. He has a PhD in English literature. He's a PhD in English literature. Needless to say, I am now the handyman. Next story. My husband watched me cooking one day. We'd only been dating for a month or two at this time, and as I was talking, the pan that I was heating up was wobbly. So I proceeded to stick a spatula under it to keep it steady. A plastic one, right on the burner. It melted. Naturally, his first thought was, "Am I dating a moron?" I don't even blame him for that thought. The dude married me anyway, but he does all the cooking now. Next story. This one is a bit obscure, but when you go to a hotel to check in, you tell them your full name, or at least your last name so they can look you up. The guy I was dating at the time and I had booked a hotel somewhere and we got there. They asked his name. He only gave them his first name, which is generic. "What's your full name?" Again, gives them just his first name. "Sir, we need your full name to look you up." "Yeah, but the reservation is under my name." First name here. I had to intervene and tell him they needed his last name because there could be many guests by his first name. I was so shocked this was not common sense to him. Next story. Girl I was dating was making nachos and shredding cheese. She nicked herself and blood gets on the cheese and the shredder. As she gets a band-aid, I pick up the cheese, and as I am throwing it away, she freaks out, as now I may have AIDS. Like, what? She is hard freaking out that I just got exposed to AIDS and I needed to get medical attention. After talking, it turns out she thought AIDS was everywhere. Like any blood outside the body, you could just magically get AIDS. Her stupidity was a relief that night. Next story. My boyfriend at the time is American. I am Italian. The first time he met my father, he tried to impress him by speaking in my native language. Long story short, someone in his life failed him immensely because he genuinely was unaware Italy had a language of its own and assumed we spoke French. My dad was very confused, and I laughed until I almost passed out. He was so embarrassed. In that moment, I knew I would love him forever. We get married this year, and he is determined to say his vows in Italian. LOL. Edit. My fiance and I are dying reading the comments. He wants me to add that him and I began dating when we were both 14. We are now 20, almost 21. He was 14 when this happened. Next story. Lord, I've got a list. He has set himself on fire multiple times, sometimes on purpose. He once decided he wouldn't shut off the power while working on a dryer because that would mean he'd have to change a bunch of other batteries. He got shocked, unsurprisingly. This only served to fuel his determination. He got electrocuted, zapped 13 times, but he did finish the job alive in the end. We have multiple nicks in the ceiling due to sword-related shenanigans. He volunteered to be on the receiving end of my taser, just to know what it felt like. As a child, he asked his older brother to kick him in the balls, and then again, just to know what it felt like. He volunteered to have his entire nether region, front and back, waxed for funsies. He once made me wake up in the middle of the night in a panic thinking there was a fire because he had manscaped and decided to clean up the hair by setting it on fire. He managed to both dislocate a knee and get pink eye within one drunken hour, during which he was playing with whiskey and homemade torches. Oh, I could go on. Next story. One day, my then fiance was very angry with me without warning and started harassing me over, "What are you going to do? How are you going to pay for our wedding? How?" Basically accusing me of being broke or having no financial plan. After a whole day of me wondering what the heck is going on, she finally went through the numbers. According to this wedding magazine she borrowed from her friends, the average cost of a 200-guest wedding in Tokyo was 80 grand. And I did not have that kind of money, like, at all. And then I had to literally sit her down and use pen and paper to prove how much our wedding is gonna cost, since I insisted it won't be as much. How much is the venue ceremony rentals? $2,500. How much is the meal going to cost per guest at the hotel restaurant? About $50, maybe $70. And how much are the hotel rooms we're paying for? $150 a night. And how many people are attending the wedding? 13. All said and done, our whole wedding was going to be about $4,500 to $5,000. And we knew this. But after reading one magazine article about mega weddings in Tokyo, my fiance convinced herself that ours had to cost that much too. Spent nearly 2 days stewing and angry with me before even explaining this was the reason for her hostility. She was easily influenced like this by anything. Friends' comments, overhearing old ladies' conversations on the train, clickbait news online, etc. And no, I did not go through with the wedding. Took me a long time to admit that her stupidity wasn't a charming point, but weaponized incompetence by an abuser. Next story. My ex, upset that our bedroom did not stay dark into the morning, once pounded a 4-inch bolt from our daughter's crib into the wall to hang a crappy blanket up over the window. In case it's not obvious, bolts have flat ends and are not made for hanging items on walls. The hole it created in the wall was more of a crater, and the disgusting blanket he purchased for the venture was ruined as well. Next story. My dear lovely husband did not know that Shirley Temple Black was Shirley Temple's name after she married. One night he admitted that he thought Shirley Temple Black was the black Shirley Temple, like Hollywood had remade all of the movies with a black child actress for black audiences. Oh, thank goodness he's pretty. Next story. My wife recently realized she is colorblind through her eye doctor. She is an artist, and yes, her art is very beautiful, but the way she chose her colors has always been a bit strange. I now realize why. Anyway, when she found out, she was shocked. Afterward, as soon as we got home, she showed me her color palette that she used to paint, showing me the way she had seen colors. I kept trying to explain to her that I don't see colors like she does, so I don't know what she sees through her eyes, but she couldn't understand what I was talking about. 2 days later, she randomly came up to me and said, "Yeah, that makes sense." Next story. On our first road trip, I asked my girlfriend, now wife, to take over driving for a bit. She got in the driver's seat, paused, and said, "Don't be alarmed, but can you remind me which one is the gas and which one is the brake?" We switched right back, and I drove there myself. Next story. He was making noodles and put in the seasoning packet but didn't mix it in. He then complained that the noodle brand was rubbish because the noodles only had flavor on one part. Next story. Happened last night, and I'm still upset. Drove up to a roundabout, and we're the first ones to arrive at the scene of a pretty rough car accident that just happened. It was between a cop car and a car with a couple of younger women. All airbags deployed, girl's car was definitely totaled. We pulled up and the cop was rolling out of the driver's seat and I called 911 for an ambulance. The cop seemed okay and went to check on the younger girls who were screaming and were definitely hurt or shocked. We heard sirens and other cop cars showed up immediately, so the best thing we figured to do was get out of the way and go about our night. The idiot part is this. We get in our truck and I tell my boyfriend he has time to pull back into the now backed up roundabout. His response was, "Hold on, I'm making a Snapchat post." I'm like, what the F? We need to clear out of here before it gets too busy so we're not in the way of the cops. Is now really the time? Then I see the post. It was a video of the accident. Then the camera panning back to him smiling and saying, "They're out here getting the police too." Now to clarify, we weren't at the accident site for long, so during the time I was checking on the cop and the girl was screaming in pain from her car, the officer was trying to get her out, my boyfriend was recording that stupid video. 1, I found that disgusting and insensitive at the very least. 2, I called him a little female dog for his first instinct to be pulling out his phone and record. We drove home in silence that night, and I still don't know what to say to address that dumb, idiot, childish behavior. Next story. While driving to the lake with our kayak strapped down to the top of the car, 2 straps through the door holes of the car, front and back, she, now ex-wife, asked why the kayak doesn't just fly off the back when we take off at a light. She couldn't understand the concept of friction, or straps, I guess. She has a master's in neuroscience, by the way. Next story. I was dating this woman who saw my copy of God is Not Great on my bookshelf and asked to borrow it because she'd heard a lot about it and wanted to read it. I said okay, even though I had just bought it. We saw each other a few more times, hooking up and stuff. It was nice. One day we're sitting there and she starts telling me she's into Reiki, and she's serious. If you don't know what that is, in a nutshell, it's pseudoscience nonsense, and I cringe upon hearing this. I asked if she got to reading the book and if she liked it or not, and she says, "Oh, I skimmed and thought it was total trash, so I threw it out." You double effing idiot. You don't politely ask to borrow something and then throw it out. I told her that I think all that Reiki stuff is bullcrap and that she owes me $25 before I left for good. Next story. My college girlfriend took me to her megachurch. Though I was a bit uncomfortable, I was open-minded. I have no problem with someone being religious, but when the pastor went, "When Satan comes to get you, you put your hand up and tell him, 'Satan, you can't take me because I tithe and I give offerings to the church.'" The crowd erupted in cheers, and I instantly lost respect for all 3,000 of them, including my girlfriend. Next story. My wife, when we were dating, was driving along the highway. We could see trees moving in the breeze. She says, "Boy, how windy do you think it is?" Rolled down the window and stuck her hand out to feel the breeze in a moving car at highway speed. I was driving but looked over at her as she did. "Well, is it windy?" "Yes." LOL. Next story. On my 18th birthday, my high school boyfriend, truly the sweetest guy, was talking to my mom in the kitchen when she realized she needed to take something out of the oven. She realized she didn't have oven gloves on, so she turned around to get them. My boyfriend, wanting to help, pulled the burning hot tray out of the oven with his bare hands. Next story. We were planning a trip, and I asked my partner to book the flights. Weeks later, I asked for the details, and they said, "Oh, I thought we could just buy tickets at the airport on the day we leave." Apparently, they thought airports were like bus stops. We ended up paying so much for last-minute tickets, I half expected a butler on the plane to greet us with caviar and a mortgage application. Lesson learned. Trust, but always verify. Next story. I loaned my ex $65 to go pay his phone bill. I was going that way anyway, so I told him I would pay it for him along the way. He gave me back the $65 and I paid it at the T-Mobile store. Payday came and I asked him for the $65. He said he already paid me back. He got so mad and said I was a forgetful idiot and just kept asking yes or no, did he give me the money back? And I said yes, but I then paid the bill for you. His friends all agreed I'm an idiot and he never paid me back. That is the moment I knew he was an idiot. Next story. My ex bought a brand new Mac computer and a set of DVD-ROMs to do photos. There was a plastic cover, clear, the shape of a DVD but thinner. He decided to see if it would work as a DVD. When it wouldn't extract, he forced a regular DVD in beside it and got them both stuck. Had to take it back to the Apple store and get it fixed. This was also the same man who tried to use my child's plastic thermos to hammer in a nail and punctured it. Next story. When my girlfriend said she was going with one of her model friends to Qatar or Dubai to dance around in bikinis on some super yacht for a New Year's party, the conditions were they had to hand over all their stuff for security reasons, and the yacht was going to be traveling far offshore. When she told me, I was like, are you effing kidding me? Have you never seen the movie Taken? Even her closest friends told her she was effing stupid to risk this. Next story. I have two. One, she was trying a vegan diet for a month and said she didn't get why a lot of vegans don't eat honey. I asked her why that was confusing, and she said, because honey isn't an animal product? Honey, what do you think bees are? Bugs, obviously. Cue a 20-minute talk in the car where our daughter and I gave her crap for thinking bees aren't animals because they're bugs. 2. During COVID lockdown, we were watching Borat 2. My wife scoffs and says, man, how many dumb Americans do you think watch this movie and think Kazakhstan is a real country? I died. Next story. This post made me think of a quote by Robin Williams. I used to think the worst thing in life was to end up all alone. It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people that make you feel all alone. Next story. I went through his phone after 3 years together because I saw a weird message pop up on Insta on his old phone. It's safe to say that he's a lek. Well, I failed one. It's safe to say that he's a tech. Well, I failed one because 95% of his messages were ignored. I confronted him, threw the phone onto his lap, and went back upstairs to calm down and think. Tell me why this effing F-wit came up to me 10 minutes later telling me to go through it again after deleting the majority of the messages. Then followed about 30 minutes of arguing before he finally admitted to deleting them. Next story. Back when we were first living together, my husband, boyfriend at the time, decided it was a great idea to get rid of a wasp chilling on our blinds by dousing it in lighter fluid and setting it on fire. He acted so quickly that I didn't have time to suggest that might not be a great idea. He set the wasp and our blinds on fire. It went out quickly, but a portion of the blinds melted and we had to replace the whole thing. I have not ever let him live that one down. He also tried to get rid of bugs in our trash can once by, you guessed it, dousing them in lighter fluid and setting them on fire. I had to show him how to fill the trash can with water, add some bleach, and let it sit in the sun for a while. Much more effective than lighting the interior of the can on fire. Edit. I want to add that my husband is not an idiot. He just really likes it when he has an excuse to light things on fire. That's relatable. What a guy. What a guy. But you probably shouldn't do that. Next story. Not me, my mom with my stepdad. My stepdad is highly allergic to shellfish. Like, one bite could put him in the hospital. One night, mom and stepdad are out at dinner, and my stepdad orders clam chowder. My mom was like, are you absolutely sure? And it took him a good minute to realize why it would not in fact be the best idea to order a clam chowder. Next story. 2 instances come to mind. Same guy. He went to order a salad and told them, with lettuce. It was a salad that was basically just lettuce that he's had before. He went through a drive-thru before, and instead of giving them our order, he gave them his name, and then his full name. We aren't together anymore, but those 2 moments I look back on a lot. Next story. I was at the supermarket with this girl I'd been seeing for a couple of weeks. We were in the produce section and she said she wanted to make homemade lemonade. So I went and grabbed some lemons. She told me, not these ones, silly. I want to make pink lemonade. We can't use yellow lemons. Next story. Dated a Muppet who backed up into my car. A month later, he goes, babe, someone hit your car. And I'm like, yeah, you did. And he up and argued with me. No, I mean somebody else hit your car. I didn't do this up here, and points to the dent I saw immediately after he hit my car, and I was just like, okay. Next story. My husband is incredibly smart, highly educated, a clever man, really. He also has eaten an entire muffin with the paper on, eaten fishtail palm berries from our backyard just to see what they were. They are painful and not edible. bent the tip of my Wusthof chef's knife trying to open a stubborn wine bottle. We have a corkscrew. And traumatically shattered the bone in his fingertip while trying to open the double-thick plexi housing on a baseball card with a table saw. Next story. My ex-wife believed the blood is blue thing. I very gently explained that blood is red and why. This was the mid-90s and you had to go to a computer to look things up. She spent the rest of the afternoon reading about it. It became a big thing to her. So she ended up getting herself mad, and she stayed mad the next day. The idiot part is getting yourself that mad about something like that. She ended up having little control over her anger, and that's really why we divorced. Next story. My husband had the bank call him and send him a text message, WTF, that says, "Don't share, use code XXX to complete extra security at sign-in. We'll never call to ask for this code. Call us if you didn't request it." Then he shared the code with the bad guys on the phone. They proceeded to hack our bank account and we lost $6,000. WTF. Next story. First date. Trying desperately to make conversation, asked her what she thought of the AI boom. She just looked at me, confused. Artificial intelligence? ChatGPT? Blank stare for literally 5 awkward seconds. Oh, like the funny pictures. Those are neat. This was a month ago, in case you think it was something people weren't talking about yet. Also from the same dinner, I used to work as a research chemist, but I got fired. Oh no, what happened? My boss had a scrapbook about Taylor Swift, so, you know. Gentle reader, I did not know, but no further information was forthcoming. It still haunts me. Next story. The guy I was dating randomly brought up how he doesn't like it when people use long words to sound smart. And I was all like, random, but yeah, that is weird and annoying. At this point, I should say that my mind was elsewhere, so I wasn't super in tune to the conversation. When I went back to concentrating on him and caught up with what happened in the conversation, I realized he was talking about me when he said that. Which, I could kind of understand if I was using esoteric vocab, but I wasn't. To this day, I have no idea what word he took issue with. Next story. We were living together when I get a call from my dad saying he is on his way to pick me up because he needs to have a talk with me and my sister. Boyfriend jokingly goes, "Probably gonna tell you he has cancer or something like that," and laughs. Turns out he was right. My dad told me and my sister that day that he just got diagnosed with cancer. I arrive back still in shock, and my boyfriend, I tell him he was actually right. His reply, "Ha! I was right! All right," and laughs. I dumped him 8 years ago and never regretted it. Frickin' abusive effer. Hey, Dad is fine today, by the way. Next story. My ex-wife and I got into an argument because I told her that sometimes boys' nipples get swollen and will leak a little during puberty. She flat out called me wrong and told me I was full of crap. 2 days later, I sent her an Instagram post about it because they listen, and she jumped down my throat about how I can't leave things alone and how I always have to be right. For the record, I'm okay being wrong. I'm wrong most of the time. Next story. Guy I dated, briefly, was not a U.S. citizen. His debit card got flagged for a large purchase, and when the bank called and asked for his passport number to verify his identity, he effing guessed. He had his passport in his pocket, and instead of looking at it, he just started rattling off wrong numbers. Obviously ended up getting his bank account frozen, and then he called the bank the next week and demanded that they deposit some money into his account to make up for the inconvenience they caused him. Next story. My ex and I got into an argument because I saw an Alaskan license plate and made a comment that it must have been a long drive for them. He said that Alaska was an island and you couldn't drive to the east coast from it. He refused to accept me showing him an effing globe and Google search that Alaska is simply attached to Canada and not right next to Hawaii. Next story. The house temperature was 70 degrees Fahrenheit. My wife turned on the AC, which was set to 74 degrees. I tried to explain that she was wasting electricity because the AC can't cool the room to a higher temperature, but she refused to believe me. In her mind, actual temperatures don't matter. You turn on the AC if you feel hot, and you turn on the heater if you feel cold. Next story. This was back when I was in college. She said, Like, why don't we just put landmines on the border to keep out the immigrants? What made it bad was she wasn't a stupid person, and she was kind of being a smart butt, but seemed like she actually meant it as well. Next story. I almost did, and TBH, there were a lot of red flags prior to this. But this was the catalyst. We'd been dating for years, slated to be married in 8 months. I noticed he was making lots of likes and comments on Brittany's MySpace. Nothing huge or obvious, but then not long after he locked his phone. But I managed to see he was also getting messages regularly from someone also named Brittany. I had suspected, but no proof. I worked swing and nights at the time, came home early one night to him in our bed with you know who, Brittany. First thing this effer says when I walk in on them is, get this, there was no exchange of fluids. I promise, babe. Later, Brittany got a hold of me on MySpace. We met up. She had no idea I was even in the picture. We're still friends, actually. I kicked him and his fluids out of my house. The end. Next story. In a fight about his inability to talk about his feelings, he said, "I just don't want people to think I'm a feminist." Confused, I asked him what the heck he was talking about. He just kept saying he didn't want people to think he was a feminist. Turns out he meant, I don't want people to think I'm effeminate. Didn't even effing know what feminism was. We're not married anymore. Next story. We were engaged and living together. It was snowing, very unusual in our southern city. Our neighbors had 2 girls, 5 and 8. When I woke up, the girls were sledding on our steep driveway. I assumed they'd asked my fiancé, who was already up. I was in the bathroom when he knocked on the door, enraged. He asked if I told the girls that they could slide down our driveway. I said no, I thought you'd okayed it. He was so angry and said they are slamming into our garbage bins and his car. I said, okay, I'll text their mother and I'll ask her to get rid of them. I did this. The mom said at one point my fiancé, when we moved in, told the girls if it ever snowed, they could use our driveway. I said, oh, he didn't tell me that, but they are knocking into his car and the trash, so please come get them. She did with absolutely no issues. About an hour later, my fiancé and I were down in the kitchen, and he was like, what happened to the girls? I said their mom came to get them because you were having a fit, but she did say you okayed them using it. He looked at me and said, you always like to start drama, don't you? You're so dramatic, you're so jealous of her. What the F? When asked by our pre-K daughter why the sky was blue, my now ex-wife replied, that's because it's reflecting the color of the oceans. I laughed and said, good one, but you really need to tell her the truth, or she'll end up believing that and repeating it until someone proves her that she's wrong. Took me over an hour and going to the library for 2 different encyclopedias, this was pre-internet, to prove to her that her grandmother and mother had either been lying to her or more likely believed the lie themselves. Next story. Oh my gosh, I have a few great ones. I love my husband dearly, and he's a great engineer. But gosh dang it. I grew up on a farm, and one of our barn kitties had a litter of kittens, of which only 1 boy and 1 girl survived. So we made both kittens our house kitties because they're bonded. Eventually, we had to split them up and keep them in separate rooms until they could be fixed. And my dearest husband was confused because he thought they're brother and sister. They don't do that. My response was I had to explain to him that they're boy kitty and girl kitty, and they'll reproduce with each other even if they're litter mates. This winter, he wrecked all 4 newish tires on my SUV because he drove it around for a week with the low tire warning, without bothering to put any air in them. By the time I got it back from him, I had heat rings on all 4 tires. He didn't put air in them because he didn't want to be in the cold for 5 minutes. We both lived in a very cold northern states our entire lives, so suck it up and put some dang air in the tires. Last summer, our central HVAC unit was leaking water for an unknown reason, and I usually deal with house maintenance. But I was away for a family emergency and had him call the HVAC techs to come look at the leak. For context, it's 90 out, it's humid AF when this is happening, so our air conditioner was running. He told the techs that our furnace was the thing that was running, not the air conditioner. So I had to call them back 2 days later so they could come back and look at the AC and appropriately diagnose the issue. That kind of sucks, but You know what? I guess if you're an HVAC, you would have to imagine you'd at least look at the AC if somebody's complaining about their furnace in 90-degree weather. But c'est la vie. Anyways, that concludes our stories of I'm dating or married to a freaking idiot. And, I hope none of these are from an ex of mine. But thanks for hanging out with me, guys. And if you have any stories like this, feel free to comment them down below so we can all feel a little bit better laughing at people that are hopefully less smart than me. Who am I kidding?